All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to PS 101 Physiology of Learning Session 4. If you are watching this, you probably are missing my class tomorrow. Just to reiterate, when I do my videos here, it is a dress rehearsal. It's very dirty and a little messy, so please fumble through with this with me for your recording to watch to make up your attendance. If you're watching this, one of the things I'm going to bring up in class is the fact that we have some assignments, big assignments coming up the next week. And the big assignment next week is our CFC final project right here, which is 20% of your grade. And the other thing I want to bring up is if you haven't turned in your homework, please get caught up on that as soon as possible. There's a lot of people that turned in their homework great and it's looking fantastic. But please, if you're behind on that, get that done so that I can get you graded. So that's the big things I'm going to talk about with everybody in class is getting your homework turned in and making sure that you're getting that final project completed for when we do presentations for class in the final week. Okay, that's the big things to bring up there. Aside from that, I'm going to just dive right on in here to the slideshow. So, PS 101, Physiology Learning, Session 4. Start by saying hello, and the opening assignment for today is going to be talking about the importance of safety. You should have read Chapter 9 of the book. For some reason, the homework prompt said 155 through 164, and I believe Chapter 9 started at something like 148. I don't know why it did that. If you read the whole chapter, great. If you only read the part of the chapter that was mentioned in the writing prompt, that's totally fine. The entirety of the chapter does have quite a bit of what we're going to talk about in the slides, specifically talking about social safety, emotional safety, physical safety, sense of belonging, identity, things of that nature. So we'll talk about it in the slides. It's not a big thing if you haven't read those parts, but it is something that's going to be discussed. And one of the big things we're talking about here in the opening assignment is the importance of safety. Reflect over the different aspects of safety in the classroom. How can you ensure that you are setting up a safe environment for learning? How can you set up a safe environment for teaching? Respond to at least one of your classmates. And in this particular, we have a very nice, relaxing, calming wave. For me, it doesn't exactly beat Kenny G, but it does pretty good. And when I think of safety, I think of calmness myself. And trying to create a calm atmosphere with set guidelines for respect and norms and things of that nature, you can set yourself up for a good start for having a safe classroom. We're going to have talks about classroom culture as well in regards to how to foster a safe learning classroom culture in these slideshows. So be prepared for that particular conversation as well. A little SEL slide here. Would you rather and why? So for this one, if you were in my class, I would ask everybody to type, whatever number they would want to be, and then give a quick blurb as to why. So for instance, do you want to be on a beach sipping pina coladas? That's me, by the way. I would definitely want to be on the beach sipping pina coladas and mai tais. Or would you do number 2, which looks like what? What is that? I don't know what that is, but it's glacial, and that just is a no go for me right off the bat. Same with 3. I don't dig the cold, not my bag. 4 I could do. 4 looks like a German castle kind of deal, and I think that is more appealing to my eye. Would you do a safari? Would you do number 5 there, or are you all about New York, New York? Or is that San Francisco? I can't tell from here. Or the big city life. Where would you rather be right now, and why? What would you want to do? And like I said, I'm all about a beach, and I'm all about surfboarding. Well, not a surfer, but boogie boarding, seeing sea turtles, things like that. All right up my alley. Agenda: check in, icebreaker, identity, and agency is the big thing we're going to be talking about today, as well as non conscious learning climates, better classroom learning, a closing and homework, and finally taking a last look at your final assignment. Here's your objectives. Candidates will create a positive learning environment and class culture by discussing policies and procedures that help students feel safe, hopeful, and supported. And candidates will plan for impactful instruction by exploring how to help students be ready to learn, construct meaning from coherent lessons, and move learning into long term memory. We are going to do another focus on a norm. Last week, I asked you all to focus on one norm and think about how that changed for you over the course of the period of time of that 2 hour session you were with me. We're going to do the same thing, only this time I want you to choose a different norm. That's what would be this particular slide. I want everybody to choose something different that they are going to focus on. I mean, some of it's easy. Have your book with you in class. But, the top three is kind of what I'd be looking at. Maybe number 6, Anyway, going on. What does student agency look like? So, student identity, beliefs about own ability. So, a student, when he comes into your room, let's say little Billy here comes in your room. He's a cute little second grader, and he hasn't had a lot of success in school. So his identity might be to be a class clown, and gets silly, makes some wise comments, and gets sent to the principal's office. So his ability is not very high. But if you want to have him get to have a better ability or an idea of student identity, you build up on his skills. What are good things about little Billy? So let's talk about this real quick. I have my little notes here, and this is where I do get a lot of my information sometimes. Student identity is the belief about the capability in a subject at that moment, and it is fluid, just like little Billy pouring the liquid into the beaker. Student agency is the actions a student takes based upon their ability. So, little Billy, going back to that whole class clown idea, if they have agency in their own actions, that can look both positive and negative. If a student's looking to not be involved in an academic setting, they'll do things in order to take agency of the situation so they can have control of the situation. It's one of the big things lots of students want is control. And they'll do good and negative things in order to get it. But it looks like little Billy here is doing good things. Hey, look at little Billy mixing the liquid into the beaker. That's what we want, right? Students taking agency in good, positive interactions. And again, remember, little Billy here might be getting affected by trauma, poverty, from chapter 12 of the framework. Let me get this thing a little bigger so we can take a look at these notes together. So, from chapter 12 of the framework, pages 1,510, I'm guessing it's chapter 12 of brain-based learning. The framework states that teachers and educational leaders in schools and districts with culturally, linguistically, and otherwise diverse populations will need to examine their own beliefs and attitudes towards students and their families. This is also true for the implementation of the California Next Generation Science Standards. That's what that is, California Next Generation Science Standards. There's a great website in regards to Next Generation Science Standards, by the way. If you have the time, you should pause this video real quick, open up a new tab, and check out California Next Generation Science Standards. Great little website there with lots of different science curriculum that you can find. Highly recommend. This explicit reflection ensures that educators approach all students with a positive disposition that both values the cultural resources and linguistic assets students bring to the science classroom and supports them to use the resources while expanding and adding new perspectives and ways of appropriating and using specific language. Anyway, it's a pretty wordy way of saying check your bias, understand that all students can learn, and one of the reasons why students don't learn could very well be your own things getting in the way of them getting to learn. Did I say that right? I think I did. I was basically saying sometimes they can't learn because of you, and sometimes they can learn because of you. Your own agency affects their own agency. Basically what I'm saying. Identity and agency. Identity, how a student sees themselves as a learner. And a student can have multiple different identities for different grades and different subjects. A student might be a complete angel during language arts because he does great at language arts. And then at the next stage, when you go over to math, he might become a complete devil child for math and go, I don't want to do this, and throw a pencil across the room. Something like that. Different identities, different grades, different subjects, totally can happen. Fluid, it depends on the context and environment, and it can be influenced by multiple different things. Agency is the manifestation of identity, the behaviors seen in the learning environment, how the student uses behavior in order to control their environment. Again, going back to that idea of control. Deep dive into agency. Choose one of these to read articles. 5-minute articles. Then go into a breakout room to discuss it. Choose the same breakout room as the article you read. Have a representative sum up the main takeaways to share with the whole group. So you see, there are 4 articles here about what is agency, student agency and ownership, what is student agency, 10 tips for developing agency. And if you are watching this for your lesson, because you missed our, what am I trying to spit out? I'm trying to say, if you are watching this for your homework assignment because you missed my class, let's take a quick look and look at these particular articles, I'm trying to say. 10 tips for developing student agency. Here it is. There's the website. Here's this website for the next one. Here's this website for the next one. And here's this website for the next one. Those are the 4 articles. We'll do breakout groups, exactly as the directions gave. All those articles have to do with agency and identity and how to take ownership and what student agency is. And if you're watching this for your homework, feel free to pause this and take a look at one of those articles right now. I'm not saying that you have to, but you are taking this class to learn things, and maybe seeing or reading one of those articles might be helpful for you in understanding this concept of agency and what it is. So I'd suggest you do that if you can. Fostering hope. Hope makes success possible. Learned helplessness. I have no control over the outcome, so it's not worth investing any energy in. Kids want control. That's like the key thing I think I'm going to be saying in class next week. Not next week, but tomorrow, I should say, is the idea of control. Kids have a lot of things in their lives that they have no control over. And especially if we're talking about trauma, abuse, neglect, things like that. And the want to have control over what's happening in their lives is part of the reason why you get learned helplessness. Well, if you have no control about outcomes, why invest energy in it? I'm going to be happy in my little bubble, and you can't make me come out of it. That's a form of control. That's what our notes say. Have students brainstorm what to do when they recognize learned helplessness and how to make the connection there. So I can do that. I'm probably not going to. I'll probably just make a little mention of, hey, think about the things you've seen and done with students who have learned helplessness in their lives. Is probably what I'm going to do in class. While as students have identity and agency, guess who else has identity and agency? The teacher does, right? And the relationship between a teacher and a student is reciprocal in so many ways. And, there's a form of learned helplessness for teachers as well. I can't do this. The kids don't want to learn. They're coming in and they're being rude, and they just drive me insane. And, I try my best and nothing seems to work, and I'm just throwing up my hands. Well, that's a thing teachers do. I've done it, and I've had to kind of think about things and go, well, hold on, what kind of things can I be doing better in my environment in order to help get rid of learned helplessness, or give students agency and try to change identity and behavior in order to become better educated students, or students who are able to become more better educated. And it's very reciprocal. Like I said, teacher identity, the belief in one's ability to teach, and teacher agency is the actions a teacher takes when teaching. So very, very similar to what we're talking with student identity, which is the identity a student displays, and the student agency, what the actions they take in order to learn or display that identity. So, teacher agency is based on the belief that we can make a difference in the lives of students that extends beyond the classroom. Some guy named Raquel Rios, maybe some girl named Raquel Rios, an Education Week teacher. I do not know who that individual is. I shall have to read Raquel Rios' stuff. Let's look at teacher agency here. Teacher agency is considered key in shaping teachers' professional identities and decision-making capabilities. We suggest that the concept of agency also constitutes a useful tool for evaluating the successful implementation of new teaching approaches. That must be a new teacher approaches. In this paper, we discuss findings from a teacher professional development program aired at Enabling Science Capital, building approaches in the classroom, yada, yada, yada. Some actions that they take. Make instructional decisions to support the learning of all students, so this must be teaching agency in effect. Reflect on impact of instructional practices on student learning. Teacher agents who are doing good things, I'm sure. Collaborate with colleagues to improve instructional practice. Use formative assessment data to inform lessons. Use summative assessment data to evaluate overall impact of instructional decisions on student learning. Use tools and resources to improve instruction. Deeply understand content. Design lessons with intentionality. Understand that teaching practices, pedagogy, and content understanding can be improved and that will impact student learning. And finally, practice acceptance and self-forgiveness for making mistakes, the growth mindset. What I'll probably do for class is I'll copy, paste that in a Microsoft Word document and say, here's a handy dandy guide on how to do this to have good teacher agency. Or it's right here on this slide. That's funny. So I won't do that. I'll just have it on the next slide. Why? Interesting that they did that. Okay. Just never. There's all that stuff there. I hope you're enjoying while I'm going through my dress rehearsal. Collaboration in the classroom. Chapter 9, the non-conscious learning climate. So, this was the homework, chapter 9. And, okay, so page 155. I don't know why they didn't start with that. The very start of the chapter has a lot of good information. Oh well, so breakout groups. You did this for homework. Doing it again for review, apparently. The end of the classroom sessions, 10-minute timer. If you guys have seen this before, if you're watching this, you've probably already done that homework. Take a break? No. Well, I'm in the classroom. I'm going to take a break. But what's all this crazy Ruski handwriting, it looks like? We're just doing more calm vistas. Okay, enough of that. Let's go on. You guys don't want to see me doing this. The stages of optimal learning. Okay. So, optimal learning. We got readiness, into coherent construction, into consolidation. What does that mean? So the brain learns content the same way it learns skills, active listening, problem solving, responsibility, kindness, self-regulation, and decision making. Readiness means to provide the structural framework and the emotional and psychological opening for new learning. It sets the stage or provides a hook to hang the learning upon. It can also add change or prime the brain with new information or connections. So prior knowledge, pre-exposure and priming, behavioral relevance. Coherent construction. Creating new neural pathways through reorganizing existing networks or building new ones. Shift the size of content chunks. Deliberate practice, 40 to 60 repetitions. Interesting. I wonder what that means. I mean, deliberate practice, maybe routine is how I read into that, with slight changes in order to change the practice or to enhance the ideas of whatever you're learning. Shifting the bias filter. That's one where you're talking about making changes to your own bias in order to make sure that you're recognizing the fact that your own actions may be changing what your students can and can't learn, and shifting your own bias in order to change it to be more positive or maybe more nurturing for your students in their ability to learn. And then multi-sensory instruction, this is going on the idea that not everybody just wants to read out of a book, giving chances for students to get up and move, or maybe add art components, or maybe having a chance to work in groups, or maybe to have a chance to have maybe a web page design or things like that in order to get students into multimodal ways of thinking and learning. And then consolidation. New learning makes sense, is stored, and can be used accurately. Getting it right, spaced learning, relevant transfer. And for me, new learning makes sense and is stored. When I think of learning, my biggest thing as a teacher is I want students to learn how to learn. That's kind of what I think of it when I think of teaching. Is you're trying to teach students how to learn how to learn. And for myself as an EBD teacher, and this might just be I don't teach general ed, but I'm sure this is the case for general ed. A lot of kids just want the answer and then to go on, right? So and we have that ability with cell phones and computers. Hey, what's 10x plus 52 equal? If the answer is 165, well, a student can just type that into a computer and get the answer, as opposed to talking it through, doing the steps, whatnot, and wanting them to see how that actually pans out. It's one of the difficult things that we're facing is that we've got a computer in our pockets everywhere we go. Trying to get them to actually want to learn as opposed to just getting the answer is my thought here when I think of consolidation. And it's a tough thing to do. Let me go back to my slideshow. Jigsaw presentation. Read, annotate, and highlight your section 10 minutes. Talk with your group and create your presentation on the content. So we're doing another group break here with a Google Slide deck. What's this Google Slide deck? A collaborative presentation. So got it. So people are I'm gonna post. Boy, this is a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff. Let me read this real quick. Read, annotate, and highlight your section. 10 minutes. Talk with the group and create your presentation on the content. 20-minute Google Slide deck. Present your group slides. Everyone talks 10 minutes. Boy, this one's a confusing one. Let's see here. Divide students into 3 groups and assign the reading. Okay? Give 10 minutes for them to read, then 20 minutes to work on their presentations. Take a break for 10 minutes. Boy, this is a tough one. Each group will get 5 minutes to present their information to the class. Start by giving a brief introduction to the concept of readiness to students. So 167 through 169. Let me see here. 167 through 169. Prior knowledge. So this is readiness. Got it. Got it. And this is coherent construction. Got it. And this is consolidation. So got it. Okay. So the group who's doing readiness has 3 slides they have to work on. The group that has coherent construction has 4, and the group that has consolidation. Got it. Okay. All makes sense now that I get it. For those of you who are watching this and saw me struggle through that right now, I'm not going to ask you to do this jigsaw presentation, but what I would suggest to you is if you have your book, choose one of those to read up on. I don't care which. 167 through 169, 171 through 175. Do one of them. Just get the idea down in your head. Think about some of those things. You want to get some skills as an educator here, and this would be a good time to do that. Do some reading there. Just something I'm going to say. All right. And then readiness, coherent construction. So after discussing the readiness, boost attention, blah, blah, blah. Prior knowledge. Interesting. So, if we're doing that as a group, I think I'm just going to... Oh, look at these. These are all fancy. And it's just all the stuff I talked about again. So both those are there. Okay. It's nice to know. So, and then they have another break session. All right. And another backwards planning. What do you want students to know? Okay. Oh, well, there's no notes here on this. So backwards planning. What do you want students to know and be able to do? Knowledge, content of science, math, reading, writing, social studies, etc. Skills, active listening, problem solving, responsibility, communicating ideas, kindness, self-regulation, etc. So backwards planning, huh? Is this something from the book? Again, me struggling through this a little bit. I'm going to have to look at that. When I see something like this, what I think of with backwards planning is what's your ultimate goal for a student in regards to if you're teaching a math class or a language arts class or a science class or a history class. Let's say I'm doing a math class. I want my students to know what a variable is. Okay? How am I going to teach that? So the goal is I want my students to know what a variable is. Well, what's one of the steps that go back there? Well, a variable can be any number. Okay? What's another step there that I can go to? Well, you need to know that a number is a digit. Okay, well, what's another step I can go to? And there, for me, you kind of can break your groups into where they're at in their learning. It's called scaffolding, you know? You have a class of 20 students, you might have 5 students who already know what a variable is. And you go, okay, those students are already in that group where that plan is. But I have another 10 students right now who don't know what a variable is, and they're at this step. And I have another 5 students who don't know what a variable is, and they're even further back, and they're at this step. And you figure out where they're at, you chunk them out, and then you go, okay, how am I going to teach this group to get over to this where this group is, and this group to get where this group is? Kind of how I think of it when I see this. What is the knowledge the students have? What kind of skills do they have? And how am I going to get them the skills to get up to the next level of the group so that they can get to where my ultimate goal is at? Kind of what I'm thinking of when I think about that. I'll see if there's something else different in there in the book, but that's typically what a teacher would be talking about, is chunking your students up, scaffolding, and figuring out where students are at in a particular goal you're having by using backwards planning thoughts and ideas. Boy, these slides, they do have a lot of breakout groups, don't they? I doubt I'm going to have time in class. I mean, we've already had 2 breakout groups, and by the time you get to this third one is just a lot. So, Chapter 10, Better Classroom Learning, Applying Learning Ideas. I bet you Chapter 10 is probably where we get the idea of backwards planning. I'll take a look at that here. Again, if you're watching this for homework, if you want to pick one of these areas to read, please do so. If not, I'm not going to know, because you're only supposed to be doing this for a 1-page response paper. If you wanted to, again, if you're watching this, you see these pages, and you wanted to pick one of those pages to read, and then you brought up in your response paper, hey, Mr. Mall, I read pages 172, 174 for this, and I found this interesting, and just want to let you know. And I'd be like, hey, sweet, you watched my video, and you even brought up the point that I brought this up here in regards to your writing. Perfect. Give it to me. Final project. Okay, so remember, presentations during the last day of class. During the last day of class, we will have presentations, so get ready for that for your Plan, Teach, Reflect cycle. Final project. Where are you at on it? Where are you at in this final assignment? Hopefully, you've at least got this plan taken care of. Hopefully, you've got this teach part taken care of. You might still be working on Reflect, and you might be finishing on Reflect Part 3. But, I hope you at least have a strategy to employ by this time. How do I create a brain-friendly classroom that maximizes student learning? We've had lots of strategies to talk about. Hopefully, you are doing that. Okay? So, just a reminder, that's next week. So, get it done. You do have homework, 165 through 180. And then teach and collect your evidence. One of the questions that was brought up to me about the final project, you're technically supposed to be doing this project in your class. Kinda. If you don't, I'm not going to know about it. I'm not Big Brother watching over your shoulder or anything. So if you haven't had the chance to use the strategy you're using in your final project inside your class, it's not a big deal, okay? If anything, I want you to think about things you're going to do in your class. And I'm hoping that some of the strategies you're seeing in this classroom, you're going to employ in your class. So I know somebody brought up to me that they're not the teacher in the classroom, they're an aide. So they don't have the ability to say, I'm leading a lesson and I wanted to bring this brain-based strategy up, that's totally fine. I get you. Hypothesize. Talk about what you would hope to see happen, in your final project. I'll totally get it. It's not a big deal, okay? So if you're not able to do the lesson in your class, hypothesize, talk about what you would hope for, and, just think about why you think it would be a good strategy. I'll totally understand, okay? Exit ticket right here. Tonight we discussed how to plan for impactful instruction by exploring how to help students be ready to learn, construct meaningful, coherent lessons, and move learning into long-term memory. Summarize the importance of the RCC framework in your own words. Reading, coherent construction, consolidation. Boy, I hope that doesn't mean chapter 10 here, especially if we are dragging to the finish line. I want people to be out there by 7/7/10. We'll see. It might be an easier exit ticket. I might just say how the lessons in this class have been impactful for you. Something along those lines. And that's it for that particular slideshow. Before I go, and before we have anything else go, I want to check out something real quick. If you're still watching here, let's take a look at slide number 5. Where's slide 5? There it is. I just want to see how much of a slideshow. Boy, it's a big slideshow again. Okay. Let's see when they give us the time for the final project. So we got opening assignments, objectives, norms, icebreaker, find your calm 3. Gotcha. We probably won't use this. Just throwing this out there. Presentation groups, got it. Reflect on your CFC. Happiness advantage. Interesting. Okay. All right. Just wanted to see where your presentations come into effect. If you had a question about that, when it's going to happen, it'll be at the very start. And yeah, that's that. I kind of wanted to do that for myself as well. Anywho, thank you for watching my video. Hope you're all doing well. I'll look for your reflection paper on this, and I'll see you all later. Bye.